Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. Our software gives growers the insights to make the best decisions possible about their operations. Let's start off by looking at the last 72 hours of accumulated snowfall. And what we're looking at here is, yeah, we've had quite a bit of snowfall out in the higher mountains out west, but the real show, I think, has really been here downstream of the Great Lakes. You see, the Great Lakes are still very warm compared to the air temperature. And when that really, really cold air blows across the really, really warm lake, we have an enormous amount of modification of that air. We're going to warm it up and fill it full of moisture. As we do that, we build this nice, these nice streets of clouds, that really contain quite a bit of snowfall. And when they hit land, boy, they can dump a lot of snow. We saw that really right here at the end of Lake Ontario and along Lake Erie. In fact, I think my favorite picture from the last 3 days has been this one. This is just showing you the incredible amounts of snow that have fallen along Lake Erie, this being near Erie, Pennsylvania. Okay, well, bigger picture, coming back to ag here, I want to focus on this map. It shows you the last 60 days of precipitation expressed as a percent of normal. Now, we have had a few systems that have come through and brought some snow and brought some rain, but overall, this is kind of the bigger picture that has got me concerned, and that is we still see there's a pretty big dry pocket in the middle part of the country where we are, well below average on precipitation. In fact, some parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, this, of course, being a huge winter wheat place, winter wheat growing area, have been very, very dry. So we got to be looking for some sort of change in the overall pattern to be bringing them precipitation, and there is something in the longer range forecast, but nothing in the near term that I'm too excited about. So let's kind of get into that forecast. Now, very late in the night on Wednesday, we were watching some light snowfall spreading across parts of the Dakotas into Minnesota and Iowa and eventually over in Illinois. Some very, very light snowfall amounts. But we got to be watching this area again over the next couple of days for even some more chances of snow. Now, I'm making this video just to let you know, way up here in northern Wisconsin, in Oneida County here in a little place called Hazelhurst, Wisconsin, up here, just hanging out with some family, doing some snowmobiling, really enjoying some incredibly cold air. I think we've got the coldest spot in the country right now. I just went outside and looked, and the temperature outside is minus 22 right where I am. So the question is this cold air locked in? Is it going to stay in place? So we're going to answer all these questions in the next few moments. So here's the first look at what we need to be watching out for on Thursday. Still have some wind chill advisories up here in parts of the Dakotas and Montana, but really what I want you to see here is that due to some pretty good onshore flow and some lifting over the mountains, we've got major winter storm warnings out for the higher country here. And we're going to watch some snow from this area spread across the Corn Belt over the coming days. So let's take a look at that. The animation you're watching here is showing you what we might see on the radar for the next 3.5 days. So let's let it play out, get it back to the very beginning here. All right, getting into, let's see here, here's early Thursday morning. We're watching some of that snow I just pointed out to you moving across parts of Minnesota and then, of course, into the state of Wisconsin, then kicking off some more lake effect by the time we get into middle to end of the day on Thursday. You can see the moisture coming in off the Pacific. We see it lifted over the mountains here, getting quite a bit of snow produced in Idaho and Montana and parts of Wyoming. But what you're going to notice here is, though, as this next bout of cold air comes racing through, we are expecting to see kind of an extension of snowfall that's going to stretch basically from Montana all the way across parts of Iowa and Illinois and Indiana with time. And here comes that snow. See it stretching there? So this is now Friday midday. This is getting into Friday evening, and it's going to be moving across the eastern Corn Belt by the time it's all said and done. So this is kind of a look at what we're seeing, or expected to see at least through Saturday. When you put it all together, this is the total accumulated snowfall as forecast by the NAM model, getting us all the way out until Sunday. So you can see there's kind of a nice little area in through parts of here in South Dakota, parts of Nebraska, but Iowa, Illinois, where we're going to see a couple of inches of snow out of this next system that's coming through, but not too much. Of course, we can still see the lake effect going on, and then the huge snows that are up here in the mountains, which are expected for this time of year. All right, now beyond that, what are we looking at in terms of systems? Well, I told you we were having to watch the overall flow pattern for it being very active, but some things have kind of shifted in the short term that have changed that up a little bit. First of all, this is Thursday. getting into early Friday, we're going to start to see that very light snow. See it there spreading across parts of the Corn Belt. But once that gets going, there is something that as this really cold air comes in on this large high pressure system, we may be able to spin up something here along the Gulf Coast. But right now the models are a little bit shaky on exactly where this is going to form and the time it's going to form. But here we are. This is 6 p.m. on Sunday. So if you're watching this video way down south here, there is an icing threat, which we talked about in our last video. But it looks like there's going to be enough cold air and high enough pressure sitting over the middle part of the country that this is really going to be suppressed to the south. And so at this stage, I'm not really watching for any major cyclones just blowing up and going up the east coast at this point. But we still have to keep an eye out on this once we get into early next week. Now, it's kind of interesting when you look globally. This is early in the morning on Thursday the 28th. We're looking at a global map of temperature anomalies. And it's neat, about the only place that's really, really colder than average would be North America. And we've displaced some warm air to the north, helping to bring some of that cooler down. The Southern Oscillation Index went really negative, and that's another good indicator that we can get cold air kind of pouring in through here. And both the kind of the phase of a couple of big circulations I watch in the Pacific and in the Atlantic are just set up to bring in this colder air here. So we've been talking about this, though, for more than 10 days. Well, the question is that cold air going anywhere? And the animation is no, not anytime soon. I'm playing this really fast. I want you to blur your eyes and just watch it here. This, again, is Thursday all the way through the next 10 days, looking at temperatures. And basically, you see that a huge section of the Corn Belt, really a huge section of the whole country, is staying in that below freezing range going forward. And the cold air at times does sag pretty far to the south. Now, usually in January, we do have a time period where the overall flow of the jet stream sets itself up to give us a mid-January thaw. And some of the longer range forecasts put out here by the ECMWF model is suggesting that we could see a mid-January thaw. So we're seeing some warmer than average temperatures temporarily in here. But one thing I'm getting concerned about, I want to watch very, very closely is right now, so just ignore the colors and watch the cursor. We've been seeing a pretty deep trough pattern sitting over this section of the country. There are some suggestions as we get past the first week of January that pattern may shift a bit to get us such that we have a trough coming kind of out of the Four Corners area. And if that does happen, that signifies a really, really active storm track getting into the eastern Corn Belt and going up the east coast. Until then, nothing. It's just going to be quite boring, I think. But we'll have to be on the lookout for that once we get into once we get past the first week of January. Okay, let's turn our attention globally here. Looking at a map I created late in the day on Wednesday showing you the next 10 days of precipitation anomalies. So these colors represent wetter than average and these are drier. Now there has been some concern about what's going on in Argentina. We know that over the last 45 to 60 days, much of Argentina has been rather dry. It's not that there hasn't been precipitation, it's just that it's been dry. Now, the longer range forecast for the next 10 days, the GFS does come in here overall with a near average pattern in terms of precipitation in Argentina. Still wet in Brazil, but near average. But I just want to show you that the European ensemble model has a little bit different picture. And it's showing over the next 10 days about the only regions that are going to be wetter than average would be Paraguay, getting here into Paraná, and through this area, where Mato Grosso, Goiás, and then getting down into parts of Uruguay, Rio Grande do Sul, and Argentina are right now forecast by the long-range European model to be a bit dry. So this is just something the markets are watching, and we got to keep a close eye on it as well. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Monday, New Year's Day. To get Morning Farm Report for your operations, click with a daily email that shows you a snapshot of your field conditions each morning. Go to morningfarmreport.com. Sign up for that free account. Full grower accounts are free if you sign up for our Sustainable Yield program or for growers who work with Indian merchandisers. Talk to you again at the beginning of the new year.